Welcome to today's edition of Trump Trolls Trump. It's 2026, so you guys should know the drill already. It's only 10 days into the new year, and yet feels like it's been a decade already. Since Inauguration Day of 2025, the beginning of what Donald continues to call erroneously and stupidly the golden age of America, it has been 355 days. I wonder if that's in dog years. Today, we are looking back at week 51. Want to be honest right up front. This has been a very tough week. There's been real violence, real harm has been done to real human beings. There have been real consequences, particularly from the Trump regime's cruel policies. Some weeks it is very difficult to find things to laugh at, but because this is the Trump regime as led by Donald, there is always something to find to mock, and that is one of our superpowers. We're going to continue calling out the incompetence, the corruption, and the moral rot, but we're going to do so in a way that reveals what pathetic little idiots they are. So, let's dive in. This week, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy, a man who bathes with his grandchildren in raw sewage, unveiled new federal dietary guidance, and it's actually a full reversal from what Americans have been told is healthy for them for decades. The traditional food pyramid has been inverted, so now the Secretary of Health and Human Services is telling Americans to eat twice as much proteins in the form of red meat, increase their fat intake, and whole grains have been almost entirely eliminated from the American diet. Now, I'm not saying that Kennedy is a quack, because that would suggest that he's a doctor of any kind at all, and he is not. Despite his complete lack of training or expertise, he is in a position to endanger the nation's health with his conspiracy theories and nonsense that he apparently just pulls out of his ass. I am not saying any of that's the case. His phone is saying it.
I mean, my hope is that we only released these earlier, 2 days earlier. I'm sorry.
Duck is also high in protein.
That's an interesting.
Duck is a good thing to eat, everybody.
We only released the new vaccine scheduled 2 days ago.
None of this, as it turns out, is about the nation's health at all. Kennedy just keeps trying to kill us and finding different ways to do that, whether it's by making us eat a lot of red meat we shouldn't be eating, or convincing us that we shouldn't get our children vaccinated against easily curable, preventable childhood diseases. Mehmet Oz was at the press conference alongside Kennedy, and he made it very clear what the administration cares about. What makes this in some ways worse than Kennedy's insanity is that Oz is actually a trained medical doctor. So, back to what Oz is telling us the administration cares about. Your quality of life? No. Your health? Sure. No, it's all about money. It always comes back to money in a regime that is run by the most acquisitive, greedy, corrupt creep in American history. Oz suggested that Americans, instead of retiring, should work longer. Why? Because it's good for them? No. To help prop up the nation's GDP.
If we're able to get the average American, who today retires on average at age 61, get them just to work 1 year longer, because they feel so vital, so strong, so bullish about their future, because they're feeding their bodies nutrients that are essential to their high-functioning productivity, we will increase the overall GDP of our nation by trillions of dollars.
Okay. Who cares? Who cares that you have been collecting trash or working in construction or carrying heavy things for decades to put food on your family's table? Who cares if you're tired and want to just chill out for the last 20 years before you die? America needs more money. I mean, the kickbacks aren't going to pay themselves. Speaking of money, as you know, Donald essentially invaded Venezuela and kidnapped the president and the president's wife. Why? Because he cares so much about spreading democratic ideals. Sorry. That's not it. He wants to take the oil. And he's being very honest about it, which is sort of refreshing considering how mendacious he typically is. We are there for the oil. Even the Bush administration, and George Bush was one of the dimmest bulbs in the box, would not admit that we invaded Iraq to steal their natural resources. But Donald doesn't care how anything looks because he rightly thinks that he can get away with anything. That brings us to the question of taking over Greenland. Greenland, part of Denmark, kind of, and a member of NATO, allegedly our ally, but it has massive amounts of extraordinarily valuable natural resources, some in the form of rare earth minerals. So, of course, Donald thinks he should be able to take it. If this were really about national security, the solution would be simple. Expand our military presence around Greenland. Again, we're allies. If we had a convincing argument, I'm pretty sure they would cooperate. Although, first of all, I'm not entirely sure we're allies anymore because Donald keeps threatening them with a hostile takeover. Now, again, this is about the rare earth minerals, potentially massive amounts of lithium and nickel deposits, possibly significant offshore oil reserves. That's what this is all about. They want all of it. And in the not too distant future, all of that stuff is going to be more accessible because the Trump regime seems absolutely hell-bent on making climate change worse. So the ice shelves are going to melt. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in an intelligence briefing just this week that they are considering sending forces into Greenland. But Speaker of the House Mike Johnson told the press that he thought Rubio was joking. He actually said that because as we all know, Marco Rubio is known for his stand-up comedy chops.
Okay, look, it is an America first priority to look to our strategic and national defense initiatives and what would be advantageous to us. Greenland offers a lot of that. I've mentioned this already. Obviously, the strategic importance of its geographical placement, but also the rare earth minerals that are there and everything else. That is directly in line with commitments made on the campaign trail by President Trump and all of us to seek America's interest first. Now, that said, does that mean we're going to go send troops into Greenland and take it over? No. I mean, they only have, 40, 50,000 people there. This is not a thing, okay? Did Marco say something like that? I think he did. I mean, it was over a 2-hour meeting in the Gang of Eight, and I think he did make a comment, but I think he did it with a smile. He was trying. I took that as a joke. He was trying to be humorous about it, okay?
I'm sure the people of Greenland are laughing so hard they're crying. While we're on the subject of unnecessary military action, just this week on CNN, the grotesque Jim Jordan, representative from Ohio, Republican, obviously, made an appearance on CNN. He, the guy who can never seem to find a jacket that fits him, was, according to multiple former Ohio State wrestlers, blind to the sexual abuse they suffered. Turns out that even when horrible things happen right in front of him, Jordan doesn't seem to notice. He was asked by Casey Hunt whether he supports long-term boots on the ground in Venezuela, and his answer, trust Donald. Without question, without skepticism, just that blind obedience Jordan is known for. Let's watch as this deeply unserious and, in my view, criminal man grovels live in real time for our pleasure.
Do you support putting American boots on the ground in Venezuela for a long period of time?
Well, again, that's a question for later. I think most Americans are again, trust the president to do what's in the best interest of the American people and the best interest, frankly, of the folks in Venezuela. I mean, you see the cheering in the streets.
But isn't this a question you have
here.
to think about before you do something like this?
and I'm sure they have, they want this transition to work out in a way that benefits America. President Trump, every decision he makes, it's one thing I know about this guy is I think he makes those decisions in the best interest of the American people, the best interest of our country, and they tend to have positive implications for the rest of the world.
Ooh, it's kind of nice watching how afraid Jim Jordan is of Donald, of all people. So much for being a tough guy. And now, for the most outrageous statement of the year so far, this clip is actually, it stunned even me. And it takes a lot to stun me. Republican Congressman and senior member of the House GOP leadership, Tom Emmer, went on Fox State TV to defend the not just unnecessary, but illegal military action in Venezuela, and made a statement that is, or should be anyway, beyond parody. It may be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, and I've lived in America for the last 10 years.
It's called quiet professionalism, Jason. They just do their job. You don't know who they are, but God bless them, and God bless this President of Peace, Donald J. Trump, for being willing to make the call.
The President of Peace, who in that operation had over 100 people killed for no reason. Peace, the President of Peace. Where is his Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, seriously, what does a guy have to do to get the Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, he's sicking ICE thugs on American citizens. He's making sure that immigrants and undocumented workers are illegally detained and disappeared into gulags. He's killing us by making it harder to get vaccines. What does a guy have to do to be acknowledged with the Nobel Peace Prize? I seriously thought that murdering citizens in the streets and activating the Gestapo would have been enough to make him a Nobel Peace Prize winning laureate. Donald actually is deluded enough to think that this is the case. Here's the thing, though. Maria Corina Machado, the Venezuelan opposition leader who actually won this year's Nobel Peace Prize, although I'm beginning to think that maybe the Nobel Committee is deeply regretting that decision, might actually be coming to the White House next week with her Nobel Peace Prize. And she's going to give it to him. What? I don't think that's how it works, but, and this is anecdotal evidence in the sense that this happened to me. Meryl Streep recently gave me one of her Academy Awards. So I can now go around claiming that I won an Academy Award. No. But one is not enough. One Peace Prize, that is. I'm perfectly happy having won just one Academy Award because I'm not greedy. Donald wants 8 Nobel Peace Prizes, which is not a thing. Here he is suggesting this on Fox Day TV in a conversation with Sean Hannity Thursday night.
Let me ask you about Maria Corina Machado. I've had her on TV this week.
Yeah, she's a very nice person.
Okay, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. When she accepted that Peace Prize, she dedicated it to you. She said to me this week, both on TV and radio, that she wants to give the Nobel Prize, her Nobel Peace Prize, to you. Do you have any plans to meet with her? And would you accept the Nobel Prize she wants to hand to you?
Well, I understand she's coming in next week sometime. And I look forward to saying hello to her, and I've heard that she wants to do that. That would be a great honor. I did put out 8 wars, 8 and a quarter, because, Thailand and Cambodia started going at it again. But I've stopped 8 wars. And I think, it's been a major embarrassment to Norway. Now, I don't know what Norway has to do with it, but that's where the committee is located, a lot of Norwegian people. And it's been a very big embarrassment to the country of Norway. Whether they have anything to do with it or not, I think they do. They say they don't. But, when you put out 8 wars, in theory, you should get one for each war.
Having somebody give you something they won isn't an honor. It's just really fucking stupid. Again, a tough week. But the idiocy It burns, but it also is fuel for us to stay engaged and remember that as vile and corrupt and cruel and powerful as these people are, they are the weakest, most mockable, ridiculous people on the planet. And we will never let them or anybody else forget it. So thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week because, trust me, it never ends. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Trump Trolls Trump. Please help us spread the mockery by liking and sharing this video with your friends, and please, as a personal favor to me, with your enemies, or even better, with my enemies. We can't stop making fun of these people, ever. So please, subscribe to the Mary Trump Media channel if you haven't already.